Alright, I'm going to be analyzing a game played from the perspective of Evelyn, Arab God X over here in EU Nordic East. And let's just dive right into it, shall we? First of all, what's the jungle matchup like? Eve versus Jax. Well, first of all, Eve tends to power farm until 6, is an assassin, benefits a trillion times from her level 6 things. She gets stealth, she gets her ultimate. That's just where she becomes a champion, so to say. Jax isn't like that at all. Jax, his level 6 is nice. He gets more damage on third autos, but really it's the items and the longer term levels that really make him scale and scale and scale and scale. Jax is more like smooth progression and then item power spike and then smooth regression, item power spike, and he just keeps going up and up and up and up down up the ladder like that of scaling. Eve is like nothing, 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 boom, ultimate, and boom, item. Like, it's a lot more sudden. The power spikes are way more profound, way bigger. It's just spikes in mid-game, right? Once you get, for example, one item, you have your ultimate available, you do some nasty damage with your combo, that's already like a really big power spike. I don't play Evelyn, so I don't have a feel for the power spikes. I don't have an exact, like, ooh, this is when you want to do X, Y, and Z. But that's just a rough outline. Alright, so. On Evelyn, if you want to be efficient, you would start at your top side. If you want to do some sort of specific route where you try and not die, or you try and go play around your solo laners, there's all sorts of things you can worry about. But efficiency means doing Krugs and Raptors. And in this case, if you're doing blue, what's your route going to look like is the question. What you can do is do blue into red Raptors Krugs. That would be a very common route for an Evelyn to prevent vertical jungling and just take a safe early game. So people know you started blue side because you get a leash, but then you're already in red side immediately. And when someone pressures you off the Krugs, sure, but you already had done your route. You're already securing the most important parts of your jungle. Then you can enter your jungle again and do your blue and Gromp, wolves and Gromp, and the bottom side scuttle if they pressure you off of the Krugs. So you got options, you got defensive routing going on there. So, if you start on one side and then quickly move to the other side, that is defensive, right? That prevents vertical jungle invades being very successful. That prevents them from cutting you off and sitting in the brush on the Raptors, for example, trying to cut you off like that. That is defensive. Just starting red Krugs Raptors, that is high economy. Okay, now we have those trade-offs available. In low elo, it doesn't matter which one you go for. If you execute either of those well, you will climb. And once you get to higher elo, you can start wondering which one's better in this situation. For now, I'll leave it at that. Let's start analyzing actual gameplay and actual routing. You could go for like a linear route. You could go blue wolves into topside. That would still be acceptable. I would leave the Gromp, since that's the lowest amount of benefit to you right now. It's like away from it, routes you away from the top side instead of just going there in a straight line. And it's not giving you higher economy either. So unless you wanted to do a full 6 camp clear, that would not be high economy. So your camp clearing mechanics are decent actually. That sounds like maybe like a half-assed compliment. Of course, that's a lot of what I do as a coach. Is like I'm not gonna be a motivational speaker, but I'm gonna say like. So here, 1, attack it, and you do it. You auto it once, and it already auto you. So you're trading 1 for 1. That's not good. You want to go 2 for 1 if you can. Try it out. Try it out once in the game. 1, 2, move away. If you can't do it, you need to go 3 for 2. If you couldn't do 3 for 2, you can go 4 for 3. That never happens, right? So you can try that out in one go. Again, you do 1 auto and you step back. This is the worst case scenario. The blue buff is rooted, but it channels its attack. You can see this auto attack has infinite range. If you were to teleport over here right now on the minimap, it would still attack you. It would still trigger the damage instantly. I know I'm not like specifically targeting your champion here. I know you're over here, but point's clear, right? So you want to make sure when this thing is rooted and is autoing you anyway, you want to be autoing it as well. And when this blue buff is recharging its auto attack, and it's going to move if you step out of range, right? You can auto attack. It's not yet autoing you. You can just walk back. Your goal is to move when it moves, and to when it stands still, you stand still and auto attack it, right? You want to make sure these align. What you don't want to have happen is this, right? You don't want to be moving away while this thing is standing still, because you're just wasting time. You'll just have to go back in here, right? The purpose of your movement is to end up somewhere else, and now you just have to walk all the way back anyway. And you're not preventing any damage, you're just lowering your DPS while taking more damage. Absolute worst case. 1, and that's it. You see there how you move back, and it attacks you while you're moving back. Alright, I'm gonna show you a video of mine. Of 2 things. First of all, the most efficient way of clearing camps. And secondly, it is very important, this is also very important, low amount of APM, so you can look at the lane states while you do this. So you're gonna not have to do a whole lot to make it work. And it's gonna be with Xin Zhao. You can do literally the exact same thing with Eve. The champion does not matter one bit in this case. Alright, let's take a look. So, load it up. And I'm gonna commentate it. Remember how you auto-attacked it, and then when you moved back, you saw the blue buff chase you around with its auto-attack. Now we're gonna compare that to what happens over here. I'm clicking theater mode, it doesn't want to select theater mode. Okay, then we're not gonna do theater mode, apparently. I don't mind. Alright, black screen. 1, 2. And see, it moves, I move. It auto-attacks, I auto-attack. 2, I move back. 1, 2, and I move back. And 1, 2, and I move back. And 1, and that's 2, and I move back. See that? I constantly go 1, 2, move back. 1, 2, move back. Every single time. 2 for 1, 2 for 1. On the wolves it's different because there's multiple targets chasing you around. That's a different discussion. But as you can see here, I kite as far as I can. I'm over here. I'm over here. Did you see that? I was over here when I ended that camp. So, kiting very well. And making sure that I don't have to constantly walk back when it's autoing me. Here, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. You saw that knock up? That means that I have to reset the pattern. 1, 2. And here I have E up. So I'm walking into it again. So again, that's Xin Zhao specific. But in general, you just want to auto-attack twice. And you can determine that by trying it out. Trying it out because the goal is that you auto-attack it when it's auto-attacking you. And then you move out before it starts charging another auto-attack. That's what you achieve with that pattern. So you could have done that with trial and error. I'm just giving it you here right now how it's done. So you can see that blue buff had full courage. You want to try and get it to yellow, right? You see this bar over here? This bar on top of the health bar? See, you have these little stripes like this on top of the health bar. When that drops to 0, the camp resets and you're screwed instantly. Like, it heals a lot. You're never gonna kill it. Don't even try. This zone is the red zone. You want to give yourself comfortable margins in solo queue. You don't want to go like almost reset it every single time unless you want to be some sort of... I mean, even Tarzan will take safe margins on it. The best junglers in the world won't squeeze every second out of it. So you want to try and drop it below some margin that's comfortable for you. If that is beyond the half mark, I feel like you should be able to move it past there. You should be able to go somewhere into this zone where it's not yet red or just becoming red. Yellow or red, but not in this area, like not 100 out of 100. Then you're screwing up clear. All right. I'll see you in part 2. This is just focusing on the camp clearing and all the starting aspects of the game, of course. But we'll get into some other stuff later on. Okay, part 2. So we've been going over some camp clearing mechanics. One more thing I'd like to add: if you have an ability that has range and you can launch it, because it has a channel time, you can let it channel while you're still clearing that blue buff, right? So you can, that way you are a little bit faster as well. Again, see this? These camps still had 100% courage, so you want to practice that in practice tool and get that route down to a better standard. You want to kite these camps more, right? If you look at a pro Evelyn player, you'll see how far they kite it. That is a good reference. Now, you're doing a full clear, which is not a bad thing at all in principle. Obviously, you need to make sure you watch the lane states, but in principle, it's not always a bad thing to do a full clear. If you want to do a full clear, I would recommend to either go blue into top side and then just reset somewhere after, or to do like red side first, since that gives you higher economy. But now you're level 3 at 3 minutes. Level 4 at 3 minutes and 20 seconds. That's absolutely fine. You're doing great so far. Even if you don't play optimally and you make mistakes all the time, as long as you get a lot of gold all the time, you're still gonna win in silver, still gonna win in gold, right? There's just not that much you have to do yet. As long as you're getting a lot of gold and then using it somewhere later on. Now this is, you're playing here you have to realize the camp spawns, right? So you know it's 337 right now. You know that you clear the blue buff at like 145 with the help of your teammates. So you know that's gonna be. What I like to do is if this is beyond 30, then I don't want to do this little arithmetic with like 15 and then another 15. So what I do is like minus 30, right? So I just do minus 3, that's 1, and add 3 minutes over here. So all I have to do is essentially do plus 2 and minus 3. It's just a little bit of arithmetic, just a little. So like sometimes you have to look at this and go really quick, right? You're like 145, that's 415, right? So if you have to do that in 1 second, like this can help, right? And that's, League of Legends does push you to those points sometimes. So how long do we have right now? We have 35 seconds, right? 35 seconds. It's gonna take this. The path from the center of mid lane to the center of bot lane takes 15 seconds. This path is a little bit longer, takes about 20 seconds. Basing takes about 10 seconds. You're gonna have to first base, like it's 7 seconds plus that little bit of time to set it up. So that's gonna be like 30 seconds. That means you can, right now, if you can base, scuttle, and do another clear. And what you can do as well is, if Jax shows up on the map here, you can steal his top side, his bot side, instead of doing your own bot side. That's gonna give you a lot more experience, because then what you can do is you can clear like this. You're gonna take the AoE, 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 AoE. That is very heavy abuse. When you do this, you've almost won the game. Like if you do the rest at a basic level, that's game winning right there if that happens to you once. Jax shouldn't let that happen. He should be clearing these camps and spawn, unless he gets a guaranteed kill somewhere, right? He has to make it worthwhile that he's losing his entire important part of the jungle. But this is not playing into your strengths. You have to realize Jax, where did Jax start? Red buff. Where is he going then? Top side, to the opposite side. You usually end up at the opposite side once you go like 2 minutes. Like you only spend like 1 minute or a little bit more in one quadrant. So 2 minutes later, he's at the end of the second quadrant, right? And you can see that is exactly what happened. So you know that he's top side. You know that he's gonna be there. Can you win that? No. If you're doubting, I mean, just ask yourself, what is your champion strong at? Level 6, right? You haven't reached the power spike yet where you want to abuse the Jax or anything. So you can maybe try and hide in the brush somewhere, do something fancy. Not recommended. But again, you should at least adapt to the fact that you're useless right now, that you're just an Evelyn level 4. You want to win the game by getting a level 6 quicker, by getting to his Krugs and Raptors when he wastes his time in top lane against a Garen that's not going to die anyway. Because he has Flash, it's a Garen. What's going to happen, right? He's close to his turret. So he's fine. So now, you're making a circle around the jungle. Absolutely unnecessary. Absolutely unneeded. You want to base anyway, right? You have 900 gold. 900 gold is more than enough to base with, right? You get, the most important thing you get is at 650. That's your jungle item completed. You can also get, like, sometimes some champions want both the components, but they also want something like boots, let's say predator boots. That's still 650. 950 is maybe even better, but you don't have any camps right now that you can use to get the 950. So again, you got plenty of gold over here. And you can buy pink ward, right? That's now 75. You got gold for that as well. So you're absolutely fine to base. If you have 500, it's awkward. You'd only do that if you really have to. But here, go base. Go base. These camps are respawning. You have a Scuttle and the Grump. And you will have a shortage of time. And you're gonna have the Jax respawn. The Raptors, when do they respawn? 150 or 145, first camp. About 20 seconds later, sometimes a little bit early. We're going to take safe margins. The more we assume someone's slower. Essentially, you could say that the quicker they are, the earlier respawn. So we want to be there on the early side. So let's just actually... So my reasoning there is incorrect. My mistake there. 145. Let's say someone does take a little bit longer. Like, let's say someone clears the Raptors at 205. And we can check that, of course. But 205, that is my guess. Now let's see when does it actually happen. Oh, what? Ha ha ha. Get trolled. Come on. Come on. See this? So that's 210. So 210. And if we look at when his red buff got cleared, so I'll show you that right now as well. 153, let's see. See how he didn't kite the camp properly. Yeah, he didn't kite it properly at all. So you can see 140, that's very, very early actually. So 140, and he's walking all the way here because he didn't kite the camp one bit. And then he pauses for no reason. So he's wasting tons and tons and tons of time. But theoretically, it's 140, right? And from here on, it takes him 20 seconds. So you could say it takes 5 seconds of walking plus 20 seconds of clearing. It's 25, right? So 205, hey, wasn't such a bad guess after all, wasn't it? So that's gonna be, if we assume, we don't know this time, we know now, but obviously you are gonna assume in-game that this is roughly 435. And you would have had to wait 5 seconds, big deal. You can walk up here, sit in the brush, wait for it to spawn, and then go in there. If you have some extra time to spare. Okay. So, now we go fast forward. And Jax does a completely standard 4-camp clear. He's not applying any specific strategies. The 3-camp clear, the correct clear is better, but let's not talk about that too much. It's just a consequence of the imbalanced economy of Krugs right now. Right? And we see this guy do the Scuttle. And what could you have been doing right now? You should have been on the bot side Scuttle, preparing to take his Krugs, preparing to take his Raptors, or at least ward them. Go back and maybe see if you can help bot lane. You don't want to match a Jax, right? Jax stomps you. You don't want to match a jungler that simply controls you wherever you are. Again, so what do you do now? You go to your Grump. Very fair. You want to check the Scuttle ideally, but your bot lane isn't at much risk. So that is fair enough. Acceptable. At least you're still farming efficiently. That's good. You got one of the most core aspects of the game down. That's gonna help you tremendously. I don't have to... Okay, and this is fantastic. So, you got a few things that you're doing very, very correctly that are gonna help you tremendously during the climb. There's some things you're doing very incorrectly that are going to just completely transform how far you can climb a ladder. Fair enough. Okay, This wave, what is it doing? And do people have TP? If people have TP, it doesn't matter what this wave is doing. They're gonna get here in 3 seconds. Alright, part 3. We're doing a little bit of play-by-play analysis here, and we're gonna analyze this particular situation in top lane right now. So, if Garen has TP, he's just gonna get here, and the lane state doesn't really matter that much. However, both sides don't have TP, and if you're really good, you'll know that from both sides because you keep tracking it. Obviously, Garen has Ignite, so never gonna get it. Anyway, so the point is, since they don't have TP, the lane state matters. Who's pushing into who? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And it's on this side. Reinforcements from this side arrive quicker, which means that it naturally starts pushing into the enemy. And generally speaking, to compensate for this natural push, you would need about 3 to 4 casters on this side. Now, right now, there's 3 extra casters on this side, right? So the difference is 6 in favor of this team, right? Your team, that is. So it's gonna push massively into the enemy. What you want to do in that case, and you're gonna sometimes get people that don't understand that in your solo queue games, like maybe Garen won't understand, but that means you have to shove this. This is going to help Garen. The harder you shove it, the earlier this wave reaches the turret, and the earlier it starts bouncing back into Garen. If you don't, what's gonna happen is, this wave is going to slowly push, and it's the next wave, it's going to be stuck right around over here in this area, and that is super awkward because then Garen has to walk all the way down here, and all these minions are dying in the meanwhile. And then when he shoves it into the turret, the exact same situation happened, except that he lost a 1 minion wave more than he needed to, so maybe he lost 4 to 5 minions in this wave by that time, and you lost an entire wave of experience, right? Because nobody got those minions that died in between. Those were just gone forever. Nobody got them. So you're gonna lose like 10 minions here. 1 wave of experience is incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. Especially if you're like an economy-based jungler or you want level 6 early on. You want this wave, 100%. This is a huge blunder. Because this is not just like, this is not a trade-off. It's not a trade-off between Garen and you. This hurts you and Garen. And why does it hurt you and Garen? Because these minions would have not died if you shoved the wave. These minions are minions Garen could have gotten. I mean, he's just standing still on base, he's an idiot, but that's besides the point. The point is, he's gonna lose more minions as a consequence of your actions, and you're gonna not catch the experience in the first place. You see this? This is all experience Garen is losing because of you. Assuming that he would have walked out of base instantly. And then he's forced to fight under Yorick's territory. Who wins that extended trade? That's Yorick. So essentially, you destroyed top lane with this move. It's just one simple move, and League is just hanging in a fine balance like that. You can make one decision that ruins a lane forever. And that doesn't mean you have to be scared and tiptoeing around, but it does mean that if you know how the game works and how slow pushes work, you need to be actually thinking every single time. Do I shove this wave? Do I just make sure it freezes? Or not touch it at all? Like, what do I do? Who has the teleports? What's going on? If Garen had teleport, my point would be irrelevant. He could TP on the wave and get all the experience. And then you would be stealing it from him. And then the question is, wouldn't it have been better if you shoved it anyway and let him save the TP? That's where some people get pissed off at you because you're costing them experience. But yeah, that's called a trade-off, right? Because it's one against the other. But in this case, easy peasy. Alright, let's keep going. So you see blue buffs coming up. Every single time an enemy camp spawns, you want to be thinking, is he going to take it? When is he going to take it? Can I do something about it? You want to be asking yourself proactive planning questions related to the actions, intentions of your enemies. You want to predict them and evaluate the result of that. And then the final part is that you make a decision based on all those all that information that you're gathering, right? It's just a little bit theoretical stuff. So for example, here you could have known Wait a second, what was this Jax doing? So you know Jax is fighting here. Do you see which buffs he has? He doesn't have any buffs. You see this blue buff is spawning in 1 minute, and you know that you already already took your blue, right? You know that he didn't take his red yet. He's level 5 and he doesn't have a red buff. So you know he definitely has his red buff up right now. So what should you do over here? You gotta ask yourself, okay, when are all these camps spawning? You know he has 32 CS. If you didn't track his CS, it doesn't tell you anything. But you should right now. Can this Yasuo shove this wave? I mean, it's a piece of cake, right? It's 3 minions. It's literally 3 minions. It takes him 2 seconds. What are you shoving this wave for? You see this? You think this is gonna like walk all the way over here? All the way like this at this kind of pace? And Yasuo is killing 2 or 3 minions. And you gotta like, shoving is when you need someone to hit the turret, like the wave has to hit the turret before this minion wave that's traveling like this reaches over here. And he has to kill 3 minions. Oh, they're almost here. They're almost here. Is he gonna make it? I think he would have made it. Don't you think? So what you should be doing is you should be on this red buff, right? You know it's up. Look at what Jax has. Look at where the buffs are spawning. You know blue buff is gonna spawn in 20 seconds. That would be, even if you stayed for this wave and went topside, that means you're gonna go into this blue buff. Because where's Jax going? He's gonna go into his red buff, right? Of course he is. Of course, every Jax player is gonna walk into his red buff. That's just a very, very basic prediction. If you're wrong, I mean, you can get out now, right? You have, you're not gonna get one shot. Let's say it that way. You don't have all. You didn't have flash just until now, but you're not gonna get one shot by this Jax right now at level 5. Level 5, no red buff. That's not gonna work out for him too well. All right, so here, excellent lane awareness. This makes no sense. You gotta actively evaluate, where are they? Where are they? How do I get there? Can I get there in a straight line E on him? Do I need to flash or something? Like, what do? You should never be, like, tossing out abilities. If you look at this, right? What's his only way of escaping this situation is by killing Garen and going into the turret, right? So you should be targeting to where he's going, which is the turret. You see this? There's no reason to back off. There's no reason. One thing I notice your champion is bobbling about, and I know what that little bopping back and forth is from. That's when you target an enemy champion with a right click. That's something I want to say no pro player ever does. Some pro players have been first blooded simply because they do that. It's absolutely horrible. It's called, what you need to do is called direct inputs. And what that means is inputs on the floor. And inputs on the floor are very special. It means that your pathing is determined by Riot quite quickly, and it's one path. It's just one set path. It's not going to deviate. You're never going to get an inefficient path. If you have a moving target, you get a whole messy, like, Riot algorithm that tries to predict, for example, when he goes in this direction, you're going to be sent over here for a second. And then when he turns around, he didn't really want to go here. This is not his true intention. He turns around, and now you're going to be sent over here. So you're going to be like, like you're going to jiggle back and forth instead of efficiently go to where you want to be. So you have to use direct inputs behind him. If you feel like you want to go over here, you go over there. If you feel like he's going more to the left, you target behind him over here. Very, very important detail. Again, this is super important. It sounds trivial, but it's going to change whether you get this kill. And you should not be booping back and forth. You should be going directly to the turret. That's where he's going. You can see that. You can tell if you look at where is he going. He's going in one direction. That's Garen, the turret. That's where he's going. Cut him off like this. If he threatens to escape to the other way, it's easy to cut him off then, right? He's completely stuck. So you want to evaluate that accurately and proficiently, and not just guess with your Q, your line skill shots. Maybe he's gonna walk backwards. No. You gotta see, like, what is his one and only escape route. If he moves back and you don't hit your linear skill shot, you're still gonna kill him. So you don't need to use it. You're gonna have to only use it in particular situations, and this was definitely not one of them. You know he's going to the turret, you just get him off. Alright, that's part whatever. Part whatever. Alright, so I've been roasting you really hard. I want to emphasize for a second that I think that you're playing really well. Especially when you said that you were a new player and that you were reaching level 30. This is insane. Like, you got a lot of game sense that I didn't have for thousands of hours while playing or analyzing this game. So I want to make clear that I'm not just like roasting you for the sake of like telling you that you're bad at the game. But I feel like certain things you're doing are very great and show insight into high economy playstyles and reaching your level 6 power spike and stuff. But there's also some things that you can improve on, and that's going to help you tremendously when you already have a few things set up. And one of those is your gank mechanics. So you always want to think about where someone's going. If their escape route is, for example, in one direction only, you just want to cut them off, right? You don't want to walk directly towards them unless you have to get in range very quickly. Let's say you have to get in range somewhere and stay there. So sometimes if this is the ideal path to get to them first, sometimes you want to take an interior path a little bit, where you get in range quicker, and then once you get in range, you can move along with him towards his destination. So then you have this little two-way route. One to get in range, one to, you know. And then I'm drawing it in a curve that's actually not correct. Usually what you want to do is you want to do it in a straight line to where you want to go. You only want to make curves if you have to make adjustments based on what someone's doing, right? Okay, so let's just keep going. The game state is very much in your favor right now. You have the cards in your hands. Jax is full HP, so you can't do anything here. This is where you kind of waste your pressure and your advantage. So you got Krugs finished, you got gold, you got a lot of gold actually, you got 2.4 thousand in the bank. 2.4 thousand! Think about that for a second. This should trigger you immensely to think, oh my goodness, that's a lot of gold. I should probably go base. And at that point, like, you can always make specific decisions that counteract what you would usually do. Sometimes you can stay on the map with 2.4k, but 2.4k should mean that all you're thinking first is base. And then, maybe not, right? Right, maybe X, Y, and Z, like some other decisions. But this is what you're thinking about first, and then you deviate. And that's a very important point I want to make, because that's going to affect your macro ability, especially if you're short in time, or if you're autopiloting. Your autopilot should be go base after Crux. You should be just clearing the camp, and here you're basing straight away. And then you might look at the lane states while you do that, and go, I know I have a complete jungle item in the pocket right now, cash money, waiting to be spent, but I'm going to help a lane here, because I know I can. It's possible. But against a level 6 Jax, who isn't fed, isn't anything special, but has full HP, and you just, like, doing this randomly, like, against a guy, like, it doesn't work. Like, you wanna, if he's on a camp, for example, and he's 3/4 HP, and you got a full jungle item, so you're gonna, like, one-shot him with your charm combo, that's such a good, easy scenario to kill him. You got flash charm, boom, kill him, right? And now you're putting yourself into a position where it's quite the opposite. You're the one that's flashing away from him. You want to put yourself into those assassin situations by warding his jungle. Put a ward on here. You could go here right this very second. You could have warded this and took his raptors, and if he goes here, you would have not killed him right now, but you would have killed him if you had an item, if you were basing after this. Yeah, so you're not warding the jungle here. Make sure you ward the jungle as much as you can. Right now, this would have been a moment where you're not put under pressure by anyone on the enemy team. You can just put a ward there and get out instantly. You don't have to stick around there for like more than the 1 second you need to place a ward. Just get out there immediately if you don't want to get the raptors. I think you could have taken the raptors, but that's besides the point. You can also take the Drake. In this case, I would say it's not a sound decision, but it's gonna work in low elo. Do this until failure. I can do all sort of analyses. See, it's a risky decision because you don't know if they have vision on you or not. At this point, it's starting to become safe because the Akali is not gonna be here in time. But if they could have at the start of this, they could have just like started going into fog of war and force you off of it, which would be a total waste of time for you, as well as handing them that Drake for free. But you can take reasonable risks. That's not disallowed, right? I'm not saying never take risks like this. I'm saying once you climb, you're gonna more and more often you're gonna die doing these plays. You want to play it safer, lower risk. So it's not good. It's not a good habit to make risky plays, but a lot of people in solo queue, even in quite highly low, still do it and get away with it. So take my words with the proper context, if you will. So here you're doing absolutely nothing. You just want to evaluate situations. One of the things is, this is what I call hesitation. When you spend more than 5 seconds, plus 5 seconds, wiggling back and forth, or like not committing, not doing anything, right? That's what I call hesitation. And that is one of the biggest impediments, not just to performance during the game. Sometimes you can perform better because you're at least like on standby, but you should always be able to tell beforehand roughly what's going to happen and make a decision. You should not be wiggling back and forth in the game like a lot of times. I mean wiggling because you don't know what decision to make. I don't mean in a lane just like as micro. That is hesitation, and hesitation, the problem with that is that you don't learn, you don't improve, because you're not forced to make a decision. If you're forced to make a decision and it's wrong, you get feedback. You make this decision and it's correct, you get feedback. It's wrong, you get feedback. In every single situation, whichever decision you make and whichever is the right one, you get feedback. And feedback drives you to evaluate yourself. And an evaluation comes with a diagnosis, right? You're gonna be like, huh, I should have not gone in. Why is that actually? Well, I didn't look at the minimap beforehand. I didn't click on the champions beforehand and see what's going on. You're gonna make some sort of, what do I do next time? As soon as I see situation happening, I click on a champion or I press the F key. That's a result of diagnosis, right? So you're gonna have tasks, solutions, right? Things that are gonna solve your problem. And then what's gonna happen is, so let me order this a little bit nicely, right? So what's gonna happen is you have your actions. They're gonna lead to feedback, and they are going to lead to an evaluation. They're gonna lead to a diagnosis. What's really the problem, right? What's really going on? So, like, evaluation might be which errors you made. I shouldn't have gone in here, or whatever, right? The diagnosis is where you come up with the root causes of the problem. So here you're looking like, why is that really? Well, I'm not observing enough. That might be a diagnosis. So evaluation is, I did the play very poorly. I got feedback that we lost a fight. What if that is my fault? Well, I kind of did this and that poorly. Then you diagnose, well, I should be looking at the map more often. That's your diagnosis. And then from that follow solutions or tasks, right? In the form of tasks, right? Things you can do, actions. These are potential actions. These are going to be potential actions that you can implement, right? So that is in the next step. Your actions are going to be planned, right? So in your next planning stage, you're going to be considering your strengths and weaknesses, the tasks, everything you need to bring your attention to, attention points, right? You're going to have attention points, like I should from your diagnosis, right? And task from your, essentially what you could say, the result of your diagnosis, the tasks that you created, right? These are going to impact your actions. And this is sometimes called the metacognitive loop. Like, we have this little picture in the chat. It doesn't matter what you call it. What matters is that you understand it. You understand that this is the cycle that you need to follow in order to improve. And that happens when you don't hesitate. This is why hesitate means not really making a proactive decision, not really getting that clear feedback. This was good, this was wrong. So then you can't go through everything else, right? You don't really notice. So hesitation kind of is the opponent of improvement through this process. So don't do it. Okay. So that is just a little bit of a combination. I'm trying to not just splash all sorts of theories on you. It has to be applicable. So not how do you stop hesitation? So that's an evaluation from me. What's the diagnosis? How do you prevent that? What's the solution like? So the solution is quite simple. You have to push yourself to evaluate a situation in roughly 2 seconds and make a decision in the next roughly 2 seconds, right? So you want to make sure this process is below 5 seconds, right? I've got like roughly 4 seconds here. This is just an example. You want to make sure, and I'm just using example timers of what I consider to be reasonable, right? That's what I consider to be reasonably fast, reasonably not hesitating. Some other coach might say, oh, it's 1.5 seconds. That's not the point, right? The point is you got to establish for yourself what you consider slow and fast. I'm just giving you example timers here. So you got to make that evaluation in 2 seconds, decide in 2 seconds, and all that wiggling back and forth. No, you already made your evaluation. Okay, I can't help there. I'm going to go back to my camp. Re-evaluating is different. So let's say you can sometimes walk backwards and then walk in. Or you can wiggle somewhere because right now it's completely unknown what's going to happen. So sometimes your evaluation might be that it's unknown what's going to happen. But it shouldn't be because you can't evaluate it. It should be because it's truly not known. There's a difference, right? So it might not be known because people are in fog of war and it might or might not be close. Or it could be an unknown because you're not thinking about it accurately enough. You're not asking yourself the right questions. You want to make sure that if you're saying it's an unknown, so I have to wiggle back and forth, that's because of the game state and not your analysis. Alright, don't worry about that too much. Just make sure you try and make decisions quickly. And they don't have to be accurate, not quickly and accurately, just quickly, and then the accuracy will come from your feedback loop, right? From getting that feedback and diagnosing errors. Alright. So, that's it. Let's keep going. We'll make this the last part. We'll see what happens in mid-game. You go in here, you help bot lane. Again, you want to make sure you take an interior path here. You see your path here does this look procedural and correct? If you think, how would an AI play this? What would be the ideal path? Now there's 2 paths they can possibly take. They can either keep going in when you show up and try and trade kills, or they can walk backwards. Since Pyke and MF right now are much stronger. So that's a little bit of a risk. This minion wave is pushing into them, so it's a very awkwardly timed gank. You want to make sure that you either take some camps and do it on a new wave, or do it before the minion wave is cleared. So your timers should be during the waves. Why? Because once the wave is back, they're going to increase their distance. They're going to increase their distance by walking away, which means if they turn around, they're telegraphing the gank. Right? So you want to make sure that people are already scruffing with each other in close quarters, and then when you come in, it's completely unexpected. They don't need to walk up. If they're all the way over here, and they're kind of walking away from a minion wave, and suddenly they bolt in like this, then these guys are just going to back off before you even get there. Or if you want to get here straight away, you're going to be 2v1 against Pyke and MF. So you're going to get killed before they close this gap. So you'd have to ult out, for example, without comboing. And again, you lose your pressure, your advantage, your everything. Alright, that's everything there is to know about, not everything, about the gank timing here. But now let's look at the angle you take. Let's take a look. So you start out with a very aggressive angle, right? The more you go towards their turret, the more aggressive it is. You want to look at the intentions of your teammates. They're slowly walking up. This guy wastes his ability for no reason. Now this is the first time where you make a really weird movement over here. You should generally be cutting them off, right? And it doesn't matter, you don't have to be accurate to the centigrade, but you need to roughly take an angle like this. This is wrong, this would still be wrong, right? You need to be within this little area, targeting towards where they're going, right? And you can't be too far off here, especially because your margins, if you gank when someone already cleared the minion wave, like I just described, even if the gank does potentially work, your margins of error are smaller. So you're more prone to making a tiny little mistake. And you should be channeling the charm as soon as you can. Like, you should have done that way back here, immediately. There's no reason at all to wait with that ever. And this would be no exception. So here, you shouldn't walk directly away from them, or like all the way over here. You should be walking towards this brush. You have an ult. If you need to use it, fine, use it. So this is not gonna accomplish anything. You eventually get the flash anyway, but she shouldn't have flashed. And the reason for that is that Pyke could have killed you. Or at least force your ult. So Pyke should have forced your ult with his E. And if he did that appropriately, then yeah, that's it. That's the end of the play. So MF panics here for no reason, gets charmed for no reason. And you get some kills, but it's not the appropriate plays because Pyke pulls you in, and then you can get the execute on MF. MF should have never flashed before actually like Pyke reacting to your presence. Obviously, if she flashes beforehand, it would still be up to Pyke to actually CC you straight away, which he didn't do. Alright, so there's a lot of mistakes on both sides here. The conclusion, though, is that you should take an interior angle and charm them straight away. Those are two things you didn't do just correctly. And in this case, it might be your feedback might get obscured by the people you're playing against. But try and think about the accurate way of playing and not just about the outcome of the play. That's hard. But if you succeed, you're gonna climb really damn fast. Really damn hard. Alright. So from here, the game only goes downhill from here. So I think I'm going to close it off soon, because as this draws towards the mid-game, it usually gets less and less and less interesting. These ganks were already similar to earlier ganks. The same concepts arise multiple times. You can't kill this Pyke in any part of the world, in any universe, so it's completely pointless. Again, you don't want to just toss your skill shots out like candy. You should be channeling a charm here. Do you need the charm to kill him? Yes, so use it. Channel it. Right? And look at here. Over here, he's moving up in a straight line. Where do you think he's going? I think he's going upwards. So you throw your skill shot slightly above him. This is mouse control. This is mouse control. This is why all these little aspects, these tiny little aspects of the game, like reading where your opponent is going and your mouse control, they all play into like how accurate you can play the game. So this is a tiny little example here of that. But yeah, other than that, I feel like at this point you're fed, but the game's kind of spiraled out of control. Mostly, I mean, one of the biggest things is like the fact that Yorick pushed your inhibitor is because you essentially destroyed Garen's lane. He was also, I'm not saying that he didn't play poorly. I'm not making a judgment about the other players, right? Neither am I judging you. I'm evaluating it. I'm evaluating what the cause was on your part of Garen losing lane. And the biggest event was him losing like 2 levels because you decided not to push the wave and make it essentially indefinitely push into Yorick. Garen couldn't finish that push. And if someone can't finish a slow push, that's the end of a lane. You completely killed it. If Garen caused that on his own, that would be him just ending the lane right there. In this case, it would be you doing it. The point is, you always want to wonder, if it's slow pushing into someone, can they complete that push? Because otherwise, they're done for. And Garen goes in way too early. He should be going in right as you come. Not like a billion trillion years before that, but oh my god, this is just like, okay, this is where I feel like you lost the video game in general. Because the consequence of this lane, let's just speed this up. You see Garen is gonna try and finish this shove. He shouldn't have, but he's gonna try, and that's what kills him here. And that's how you're gonna eventually just whittle down on the turret here. Right, so if we just keep playing this at ×8, eventually he gets turrets and turrets and turrets and turrets, and he gets an inhibitor. So that's a really big problem. Alright, So that's just a little bit of a root cause, not in terms of what you're doing in the game, but what happened in top lane specifically, what caused the game to spiral out of control. But yeah, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the review. Hope I didn't roast you too hard. I really like some aspects of your gameplay, like how you watch the lane states and clear efficiently. But yeah, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.